In this video, we're going to teach you the basics of foot strengthening.
Part one of the foot exercises is to try and fire up the intrinsic foot muscles that are in between the metatarsals of your feet. So I'll put up here a picture that was on a short that we have up on YouTube, so please go and have a look at that if you'd like more detail. But basically, we're trying to activate the front half of our foot. So what we want to try and do, we call this doming or short foot exercise, is we're trying to lengthen out and flatten down our toes and then trying to draw, call it the arched stomach, back up so that you're contracting, oh that's cramping, you're contracting up your arch. But the key thing here that people find very hard to do is to not claw their toes. A lot of people will have digital deformities that we see in clinical practice, and they really struggle to try and get their toes straight. And so even before doing this exercise, some people will need to actually mobilize their toes. Their toes may be stuck in these fixed hammered positions, so they'll need to grab their toes, mobilize them a little bit while watching TV or sitting down for maybe a gym session. But the idea is we're trying to get these stiff joints and we're trying to increase their flexibility, a bit like you would stretch out your calf. And so trying to mobilize your toes so they don't get increasingly more and more contracted is an important first step before even trying to activate these muscles. If you're young and you've got straight toes, it's great. But if you're a little bit old, or some people even are born with congenital contractures in their digits that can make some of their toes curly from a young age, and so they may also benefit similarly from some pre-mobilization of the toes. So pre-mobilizing, you may even find benefit in using things such as toe splays to help with stretching out these really small muscles that sit in between the metatarsals and go to the bases of the toes. So essentially it's the same as in the ham. There are muscles in here that come and attach into the base of the fingers and the base of the toes, and they can become quite weak, sometimes contracted, and the muscles that come all the way from the back of the calf underneath the ankle through to the ends of your toes, they also can have, even within one tendon, a little that makes that toe curly. So you may want to toes or use something like a 5 minutes or 10 minutes at home just to walk around and give those toes quite a stretch. A lot of people find these way too intense to use on a regular basis, but considering them as a stretching device is a much more healthy way of using toe splays.
So now that we've got our toes mobilized, we're ready to lengthen them out and flatten them onto the ground the best we can. Obviously, we might not have the toes all long and straight, but use your hands if you need to help load the toes in as straight alignment as possible. And here you can see I'm lengthening and flattening my toes onto the ground, and I'm drawing the ball of my foot back towards my heel. And as I do so, my arch gets thinner and taller. And this is really similar to standing up straight with your general posture. So this is foot posture, if you like, where if you were standing up straight, you'd draw in your stomach and you would get taller and thinner. And this is the foot version, essentially. And what you want to do is put some weight onto the forefoot and hold this contraction for around 5 seconds and try to repeat this if you can in little microbursts throughout the day. And we have some ways of increasing the intensity of this exercise, and that is to lean forward onto the front of your foot. At the very least, having 50% of the body weight on the forefoot as well as back on the heel, but we can make this exercise much more challenging and increase the strength gains by leaning forward. And this can be as much as 90% to nearly 100% of the body weight leaning forward. And you can see on the pressure mat recording that my toes were much better engaged when I leant forward. And we call this forward leaning task, tongue in cheek, the Titanic, very much like Kate Winslet standing on the front of the Titanic. In this video here, I've got my toes wedged up to increase the intensity of the task, and you can use a rolled up towel if you need to create a wedge-like effect. And you do the same leaning forward task after engaging the arch muscles. So if you really want to challenge yourself, try this task leaning forward over water to see how far forward you could lean. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more about foot strength, biomechanics and footwear, foot anatomy, all things feet. Follow along and we'll hopefully keep you entertained and informed.